On April 4th, 2025, the Supreme Court, in a 5-4 emergency ruling, allowed the Trump administration to suspend $65 million in federal teacher training grants. States like California, New York, Illinois, and Massachusetts were using these funds to train and retain teachers in places that desperately need them. So, this legal fight, let's go through it. First, Linda McMahon said, review all education grants for DEI violations, whatever that means. Then, over 100 grant recipients over 8 states got those copy-paste termination letters citing DEI or lack of alignment with department priorities, but no specific reason was given. And most of the grants were already serving students. They were midstream, as they say. Next, the Department of Education announced a formal cut. $600 million in teacher training grants were eliminated for promoting divisive ideologies, which, remember what those actually were? Anyways, after that, 8 states sued the Department of Education. They argue that these cuts violate the Administrative Procedure Act, APA, that's a mouthful, the law that prevents the federal government from doing exactly this type of bullshit that they are currently doing. Then a U.S. district judge gave a temporary restraining order to pause the terminations and keep that funding flowing during the legal battle. They do this a lot. Then another judge extended the temporary restraining order, and they set a hearing for a longer-term decision to be made. Then, the Trump administration appealed to the First Circuit, and that First Circuit said, we are also going to keep this temporary restraining order in place. But then, last week, the Supreme Court stepped in, and they got rid of that restraining order. That allows the Trump administration to move forward with the grant cancellations immediately. It was a 5-4 decision, and who was it? Chief Justice Roberts joined the 3 liberal justices in dissent. Supreme Court justices are supposed to be neutral. Yeah, well, they're not. But this wasn't actually the final word because nothing can ever be simple. So the Supreme Court has not actually fully heard this case. They only weighed in on an emergency request from the Trump administration. So in plain English, that means that actual lawsuit from those 8 states that argue these cuts are illegal under the APA, they're still deciding on it in the First Circuit Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court could choose to take the full case later, but they haven't done that. And in the meantime, the big issue with this temporary restraining order being lifted, the Department of Education is given permission to continue with the cuts, even before the courts have ruled on whether or not these cuts are legal.